having fewer investigators and inspectors will not protect workers from wage theft, misclassification, and dangerous working conditions. So how are you going to operate with less, even though we didn't even have enough to begin with?
Well, it depends on what the priorities are from the past administration, but in this
Are inspections not priorities?
They are priorities to protect the
But with
American
less
worker.
inspectors, you can't do investigations.
What we don't want to do is weaponize the use of those funding dollars against.
How is there weaponization if it's going to take you 187 years to complete inspections and you're cutting the inspectors that are supposed to do those inspections? The math is not mathing.
Well, statutorily, we will protect the American worker. We did not have any of our investigators currently. We're not able to take the DRP in order so that they can be assigned to the job that they are required to do.
So are you saying that you're going to hire more investigators to do inspections?
What I'm saying is we did not allow our statutorily mandated offices that we need essential workers like our investigators through wage and hour, through MSHA, and through OSHA to take the DRP because they are.
The hearing opens with a direct challenge to the Department of Labor's enforcement capacity. A lawmaker highlights that the agency is operating with fewer investigators and inspectors, raising concerns that this reduction could weaken efforts to address wage theft, worker misclassification, and hazardous working conditions. She emphasizes that these enforcement roles were already under strain before the cuts and asks how the department plans to carry out its responsibilities when staffing levels were never sufficient to begin with.
For being here with us and watching the hearing earlier, I learned that you're also a former union member.
My father was a Teamster.
Yes. Okay. All right. I'm a former AFSCME member. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the child labor enforcement. In two appropriations hearings last month, you expressed a firm commitment to fighting illegal child labor. At the same time, your agency has decimated ILAP, including its work to prevent child labor. Your budget proposal will weaken a historically under-resourced wage and hour division. The nominee to be your solicitor of labor wrote a chapter in Project 2025.
Response. The Secretary explains that protecting American workers remains a statutory obligation of the Department of Labor. She states that investigators and inspectors in key divisions, including the Wage and Hour Division, OSHA, and other enforcement offices, were designated as essential personnel. According to her explanation, these workers were not allowed to participate in workforce reduction programs so they could remain fully assigned to inspections, investigations, and compliance enforcement activity.
Which literally calls for the rolling back of child labor laws. Madam Secretary, can you assure this committee that you will not propose any rollbacks of child labor rules that prevent children from being employed in hazardous occupations?
I commit to fighting against all child labor exploitation. Absolutely, in this country, we do not want to exploit our children. Consistent with putting the American worker first, the budget does streamline ILAB, that is one of the agency departments that protect the American worker and protect against child labor violations. The budget provides for about $70 million to ILAB, including $38 million in grant funding, while restoring ILAB's emphasis on putting the American worker first.
So that's a long way of you saying yes?
I will work absolutely to combat all child labor.
Wonderful. Many workers across the country will feel the impacts of your staffing and funding cuts to WHD and OSHA. As of May 2025.
The discussion then shifts to child labor enforcement. The lawmaker references prior statements and budget proposals, asking whether any existing child labor protections could be weakened or rolled back. The Secretary responds by stating that the department remains committed to combating child labor exploitation. She outlines that the proposed budget maintains funding for enforcement operations and grant programs designed to identify, prevent, and respond to child labor violations across multiple.
WHD employs just 611 investigators nationwide. This is the lowest number since at least 1973, even though there are nearly 10 times as many workers and businesses for them to cover. Your budget proposal cutting the office by $25 million, with staffing projected to fall. Your budget would also cut OSHA inspectors by over 12%, even though currently it will take 185 years to inspect every workplace just once. Madam Secretary, what is the plan to keep workers safe when you're slashing enforcement?
Yeah, no, thank you again. Again, one of the overall core missions is to protect the American worker, and that includes in the wage and hour division as well.
The lawmaker introduces specific staffing data, noting the current number of investigators employed nationwide within the wage and hour division. She highlights estimates indicating that, at current staffing levels, it could take more than a century to inspect every workplace a single time. Using these figures, she questions how worker safety can realistically be maintained if funding and staffing levels are reduced further.
Lining and doing some cost saving for the American taxpayer, we will always be in compliance with our statutory requirements.
Well, that doesn't, Madam Secretary, if I can just interrupt for 1 second. At one point, DOJ was set to close 20 WHD field offices and 11 OSHA offices. If this is happening, how will this protect workers?
So the offices that we have been, that were originally proposed through GSA, we have worked with to bring them online. I don't think that that is a good use of the compliance issue, that we have to protect the American worker. And through the DRP, none of our essential workers, either through wage and hour, through OSHA, through MSHA, were able to take those because we know we need those investigators on the ground to protect the American worker, and I advocated for that.
Yeah, but having fewer investigators and inspectors will not protect workers from wage theft, misclassification, and dangerous working conditions. So how are you going to operate with less, even though...
The Secretary responds by explaining that the department is implementing cost-saving and streamlining measures aimed at improving efficiency. She states that these changes are being made while remaining fully compliant with statutory enforcement requirements. According to her explanation, the department is prioritizing core enforcement functions and directing available resources toward areas considered most critical under federal labor law.
We didn't even have enough to begin with.
Well, it depends on what the priorities are from the past administration, but in this
Are inspections not priorities?
They are priorities to protect the
But with
American
less
worker.
inspectors, you can't do investigations.
What we don't want to do is weaponize the use of those funding dollars against...
How is there weaponization if it's going to take you 187 years to complete inspections, and you're cutting the inspectors that are supposed to do those inspections? The math is not mathing.
Well, statutorily, we will protect the American worker. We did not have any of our investigators currently. We're not able to take the DRP in order so that they can be assigned to the job that they are required to do.
So are you saying that you're going to hire more investigators to do inspections?
What I'm saying is we did not allow our statutorily mandated offices that we need essential workers like our investigators through wage and hour, through MSHA, and through OSHA to take the DRP because they are essential to protecting the American worker in these industries. We can still cost save and do the job that we need to do.
So American workers can expect that you will expedite investigations to make sure that we are assuring their safety.
The exchange concludes with questions about how investigations and inspections will proceed under current conditions. The Secretary reiterates that protecting American workers is a core mission of the Department of Labor. She states that enforcement efforts will continue under existing legal frameworks, with investigators assigned to essential duties and inspections conducted based on statutory obligations and available resources.